Welcome back to another episode of Talon Talk. Whatever your listening preference, you can find our feature interviews on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and of course on UNFOspreys.com. Don't miss our chats with student athletes, coaches, alumni, and Ospreys in the pros. Now, let's get to today's episode. Welcome back. We've been off for a little bit with Talon Talk. We're reaching out to another former Ospreys in the pros, but now he's being on the other side of the ball. He's on the sidelines as the head coach. He's taking over at Episcopal. Thanks for being on, Jay.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brock. I'm excited.
I've talked to Alex before, talked to Derek, talked to a couple other people in the men's soccer community here at UNF, but a lot of people know you over here on this side of town, but just give an intro of yourself.
Okay, well, born and raised in Jacksonville, grew up, went to RPDS for elementary school, Bowles in middle school and high school, and then landed at UNF, or not really even landed. I just crossed a couple roads and was in town and played 4 years. Took me like 4.5 to graduate, and then ended up in Charleston, played there for 3 years, and now I'm at Episcopal. Really happy.
So yeah, take us through kind of that process growing up and playing soccer. And what was your vision? Was your vision to play Division I soccer all along, or how did that path emerge for you?
I think it's funny. I think I played a bunch of sports growing up, but soccer was always kind of the one that I was usually best at, and I was really into it and playing over the summer, playing in different leagues with different teams. And so then maybe I didn't really even realize like what goals I could accomplish. I just knew that I liked playing and I kept getting better. So I guess probably around high school age, I was like, maybe I have a chance to play Division I soccer. And so that was that was the goal in high school, like play Division I, and then got to Division I. And as soon as I got there, I was like, well, maybe I can play pro as well. So ended up making that a goal, and obviously made it happen. And I'm super lucky. I got to play 3 years in Charleston. I mean, what a beautiful city to live in, and it's such a great club. I'm just really grateful.
Yeah, a couple great cities to be in, Jacksonville and Charleston, out here on the Eastern Seaboard. For you, looking at colleges, what was that selection process like? Was it, UNF all along, or were there other schools or opportunities?
No, I mean, I kept it pretty open. I will say, like, it's funny. One thing I say is growing up in Jacksonville before Derek took over at UNF, to be honest, in my opinion, I didn't really like seek out going to UNF events. I had never even been on campus, to be honest. So when Derek kind of put this vision of where he wanted the program to go, that was definitely one of the things that was like enticing about UNF to me, is that I was like, oh well, I'm a hometown guy. I could go there. I knew I had a good feeling that I was gonna play right away and be successful in that sense. But I still kept my recruiting open, and I went on multiple different visits, and I just ended up really, I just felt like UNF was the place for me. And I mean, I'm pretty sure I made the right choice.
Yeah, you guys had some great teams here that you were a part of, and some special memories. What was it like being in college in your hometown? Because it's definitely a different experience.
Yeah, I think there's some pros and cons to that. Like, there's definitely things that are convenient. You're close to your family. You can see them. If you miss them, you can go 20-minute drive home, see them. Home cooked meals, laundry if you need to. And it was fun being the hometown guy, because you get to see a lot of familiar faces that come to games, and I still had friends that lived here. Cons, I guess, it sometimes it almost feels a little bit like you're not in college.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a high school, like a little bit bigger level of high school almost. But I think overall there's more pros than cons. But it's definitely not like my sister went to Ole Miss, so she was 12 hours away. You can't just come home and do laundry on the weekend. Like it's different. But like I said, no regrets though. No regrets.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assessment. A lot of people would probably say the same. And it's one thing to be in a small town in a very not very populated city and go to college there as well, which can be confining, but turned out well at UNF. Speaking of those memories here, what was one that you look back on most fondly? And it could be as big as postseason play and championship time, or it can be just the mundane days.
It's got to be that. I
Mm-hmm.
think 2015 ASUN championship
Mm-hmm.
on our home turf. Like I still think back on that, and I'm like, it just the way it worked out. We were the 2 seed going into the tournament, and I remember in the semifinal, we had a penalty kick in extra time. It was sudden death, and we scored that penalty, and we're all celebrating. And the guys from the bench had run on the field, and they were like, USC Upstate won, which meant that we were hosting the final. And we were like trying not to get too excited, but we were really confident. And then to be able to host, and we beat them 7-0, and there were tons of fans, and then like just like running over and celebrating with everyone, like that's got to be the best memory. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you can't beat that on your home turf in your hometown, and you guys annihilated them in the final. I
Yeah,
mean, you
exactly.
put up 7 goals. I mean, what is that
Yeah,
even real? That doesn't
I
even.
know the fans always want goals, right? We delivered on that.
Yeah, no doubt. And that going back to what you're describing there about uh receiving the news that USC Upstate won, that kind of puts you in a weird spot where the players on the field don't know something, but the players off the field might know something, because you know how word gets around on the bench or in the dugout for it's baseball or whatnot, and they know the
Yeah.
buzz, but you don't. You're playing, and so
Oh, I
that's
know.
got to be a weird thing to just be hit with that all at once.
Yeah, I think if you're on the bench, you just kind of keep your mouth shut because
Yeah,
you don't want to like get overexcited and like you're still focusing on the game and the goal. Like you don't get to play USC Upstate if you lose this game
yeah.
to Lipscomb. But I had no clue. I had no clue until I think it was Aiden DeMello ran over and was like looked me in the eyes and shook me, and he was like USC Upstate won, and I was kind of shocked because it was a big upset. They beat Florida Gulf Coast, which was huge.
Yeah,
So
you in your mind, you're thinking you're going one way, and you not only have a semifinal game, but you got a final game. Why were you guys able to produce that year? Why were you guys so successful and able to take home the championship?
that was, the two prior years, my first 2 years, we had made it all the way to the final both those years and lost. And I think we had so many returning guys that we all had that feeling like where we knew what it was like to go to two championships and lose. So we are like extra motivated, and like I said, we had a bunch of returning guys. So we just had this good chemistry. And I mean, the coaches, we started like different tactics and pressing higher up the field. I think the coaches were probably more confident in us too, and they knew they could throw more stuff at us as a team. And we took it and ran with it. And I mean, we were really good that year, and it was fun to play. The way we played, it was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in that situation too, you everything slows down once you've been in it one or two times previously, and the moment doesn't get as much of you as it might the first time. And so that's
Exactly.
that's part of the psychology of sport. So you had that moment, you have your career at UNF. What's going through your mind as you're about to leave UNF? What was on the table?
Well, it's just wild how it all happened. Like I remember we were in like the ASUN tournament. Well, even just that whole senior year, I knew I was probably going to have some professional opportunities because I was just from like talking to Derek and different coaches, and I ended up getting hurt in that last game, and it really made me take a step back because I knew I was going to be out for like probably 5 to 6 months, and so I took a step back, and I ended up missing that initial window of like when teams sign players because I was rehabbing. But
Hmm.
it ended up being a blessing in disguise. Like I said, I still had to finish my degree, and it took me like probably another semester. So I, like I said, it didn't work out the way I thought it was at first, but I was able to get my degree, which ended up being awesome, and just like having that like safety net, safety blanket. And but I did have to take a step back and think like, is this really something I want to do? Because if I do want to do it, then I'm gonna have to go through all the rehab. I'm gonna have
Hmm.
to refocus and then get myself in shape to go on different trials, which I did, and it ended up working out. And so, like I said, it all happened, and I ended up at Charleston. So super grateful for it.
What's that process like for somebody like yourself trying to transition into professional soccer, especially after an injury? Because I mean, it's more of an unconventional thing. You get a professional baseball player, let's say, that is coming out of college. Obviously, he can get drafted in the minor leagues, but if he doesn't make it, he goes to indie ball and tries to go that route. What's that kind of? How did that work, and what did you have to do?
Yeah. So obviously first things first, I had to rehab and get myself healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that, and I ended up playing in a summer league, like amateur level, and really like trying to get my feet back under me, which definitely helped. And I still had a semester left, so it kind of worked out perfect because the Armada they were pro and they were here. And so they let me go out there and train with them. I wasn't a signed player, I just trained with them. And that was huge for me because I started training with pros and getting that experience. But really, Derek helped me out a lot, and he was, using his contacts and trying to get me opportunities. And we ended up getting an opportunity in Charleston, so I went up there and trained for a couple of days with the Battery, and I guess I made a good impression because I ended up staying in contact with the coach up there, and he told me, he was like, just go finish your degree and we'll sign you in December. And sure enough, like literally the day I graduated, he said, congrats. And he sent me like my first contract. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. What was your
Yeah.
reaction at that moment?
Well, it was like, what a great day. Like I get my diploma, and then
Yeah.
I wasn't sure like what he meant, that he was like, yeah, we're going to sign you. We're going to sign you. And I literally get like an email, and it's like, congratulations. And then it's like attached is your like is a contract, like a basic USL contract. And so I had all my family already there to like celebrate my graduation. And then I got to bring that news. It was like great, just a great day.
Yeah, that's not often you get those two momentous events on the same day. Not many people can have that in life. So you get that opportunity. You're ready to move on to the next level. That first year in USL play, what was that transition like? What did you have to learn that really hit you?
Yeah, that was tough. So I think one of the main things that I really started learning was that like positioning, like where you are on the field, and just it is so much more important because in high school and college you can maybe get away with some bad habits about like being out of position, but you're faster than a lot of guys, and you can make up for it with speed. Well, in the pros, there's just everyone's so much better, and if you're out of position, if you get caught out of position, you're probably going to get exposed. And so that was something I definitely had to learn about, like making sure I was always or most of the time in the right spot. And then just your basic things, like everyone's better, so you need to be sharper. You need to have like just a better technical game, and then just understanding where you need to be and what you need to do. And so and really the grind of it too. It's a 9-month season, and you're used to like pretty much a 3-month season. So trying to learn how to like take care of your body and get yourself able to like play game. Like sometimes we had 3 games in 1 week, which was tough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was probably the biggest part about the transition, was that like where you are on the field, positioning, and then just the fitness aspect,
What are the tricks of the trade for a professional soccer player to stay in condition?
Well, it's funny, like I played my first year, I was very healthy and I played a lot. And then my last 2 years I had battled some injuries. So I'm like not the expert on staying healthy, but some of them were just, some unlucky injuries that just happened. But I do think, I've always been a big fan of eating healthy, obviously staying hydrated, and then making sure that you're doing the proper things after training, like stretching and foam rolling and all. There's all sorts of things now that like those Normatec boots and stuff like that. So just using your resources to make sure your body recovers, and then you get it ready to go again the next day, because it's a grind. It's every day.
Mm-hmm. How do you maintain focus at that level as well? Because I'm sure it's difficult to stay committed to the minutia like that, like foam rolling, like stretching, like drinking enough water. How do you maintain the focus?
Well, I think for me, it's like that's your job, and you're really only training for like an hour and a half to 2 hours every day. And I didn't have any other jobs. And so I was like, I can foam roll or stretch for 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it needs to be. Like that's part of the job. And so not a lot of people get to go work for 2 hours and then have the rest of the day to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So if you do have some free time, you better be taking care of yourself. And I mean, there's still time to have fun and stuff like that. But like just on a normal weekday, it's like, all right, you need to do the right things. You have the time to do it, so you need to use your time wisely.
What were the lives of some of the other guys that you competed with? What other jobs or things did they have going on the side that was pretty common?
A lot of the guys that I played with also like coached. So we always trained in the mornings, and then like they would probably coach in the afternoons. And some guys even, let's think, some guys had other jobs. One guy like valeted cars because it was like something where he could do it. I mean, it depended. I mean, I wasn't the only one that didn't work, but there were definitely a handful of guys that coached because it kind of just made sense with their schedule and everything. But for me, I was like, I'm just gonna play and like focus on that. And so yeah.
So those are definitely formative years in your 20s right there. How did you grow professionally and personally when you're in Charleston?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like that was like the first time I was really out of Jacksonville too.
Right.
So I'm like, you're on your own. You can't just, like I said, it's no 20-minute drive back to mom's house to go do laundry. So you're on your own. You're kind of just becoming your own person, and you have to take care of yourself. Like you're living on your own, and so I think you're just maturing and really trying to find like what you're passionate about, and being a professional, I guess, just treating yourself like a professional. So I definitely grew in that aspect. But I don't know, like I still felt like I was a mature kid in college at times, but I guess when you're on your own, it just forces you to kind of grow up even more. And
Yeah,
I don't know. That's what I'd say.
You got to start to manage doctor appointments. You got to start to manage your insurance cards, all these other things that, are like becoming a part of your life that are your day to day now, in addition to playing soccer.
Like I had a car problem up in Charleston, and I was like, I had to call my mom. Like, Mom, what do I do?
Yeah.
She's like, you got to go find a car place to fix your car. Like, I mean, what do you want? What else do you do? Can't drive it back to Jacksonville. It's not working right now.
Yeah. The problems are yours now, which is part of it. So what's developing for you? Do you start to glance at world outside of playing at that point? When did that kind of switch happen?
Because I had, like I was telling you, I had several injuries, and that's when when you're rehabbing because the one major one I had was I tore my Achilles. So, I mean, doctors were telling me you're looking at like a 9 to 12 month recovery. So, that kind of gives you some time to think about like, what am I going to do if I'm not playing? And I wasn't like focusing hard on that because I still felt like my mentality needed to be, I want to come back and play. So I don't want to like put too much emphasis on that. But I mean, of course it's going to cross your mind. And, I didn't even know, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I obviously love soccer. So I, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe I'll go into coaching. But even still, I didn't know. The only thing I knew 100% that I wanted to do was get healthy and try to play again. So that was like where my focus was.
Well, and such a significant injury like an Achilles, regardless if you're trying to return to play, it demands so much of your attention because it is such a significant injury to go through. So you're working through that. New opportunity comes across in Jacksonville. What was that period like? How did that develop?
It's funny. I went to UNF, had played a game last spring at Episcopal, and I ran into the athletic director, and he used to be the soccer coach at Episcopal when I was a player at Bulls. So we knew each other. And so I saw him, we caught up, we were just chatting. And at that point he said, like, what are you going to do if like once soccer's done? And I said, I don't know. Like, I'm still trying to play. And at that point I was really struggling. I was like trying to get healthy, but my body was just kind of like saying, no, like, you're too old. You can't do it anymore. So I ended up, meeting with him several times, and the opportunity came up, and seriously, like, never would have guessed that it would. And it was like such a good opportunity. I just like couldn't pass it up. And I remember when he mentioned it to me, it kind of caught me off guard, but I was like just excited about it. Like just the thought of it, I kept like thinking, like, immediately in my head, I was thinking like, like what formation am I going to run if I'm coaching this team and stuff like that. So I knew I was excited about it, like deep down, but yeah, I mean, just crazy how it happened. Like, of course it was like a UNF game and I go and it's at Episcopal and it just works out like that.
Yeah, a lot of events led UNF to be playing at Episcopal in the spring for sure. And I know the women and the men were both playing at Patton Park, and
Yeah.
just the whole COVID year with events in the spring led you to that opportunity.
Yeah.
So did you end up getting a phone call, interview process? How did that go down with Episcopal?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty unofficial. We at least like to start. I mean, I went into the first, I guess you could say, unofficial interview, not really knowing what to expect. And like I said, I knew the athletic director, and so we were just, I thought we were just gonna be chatting, and it was pretty like casual. He mentioned it. He knew I was still trying to play. He said, "Well, let's see what happens." And then it was just several more interviews from then on out. And then when it got serious is when I like actually met with like the associate head of school, and we talked about like what else could you do other than coach soccer. So then eventually there was a formal offer, and I took a couple days, and I accepted it. So it was cool. I was excited, he was excited, and then I got to tell all my buddies who went to Episcopal that I was moving over, making the jump over, so they were pumped too.
Yeah, did any of your Bulls friends give you any hard time about it?
Oh yeah, I definitely got a hard time. All in good fun, but it probably surprised a lot of people because I was like the biggest Bulls guy. Like I'm Bulls through and through. I went from 7th to senior year there, and then I was coaching ever since I graduated. So pretty much for like probably coaching there for 6 or 7 years. So just over a decade I spent at Bulls, and so there were probably some surprise faces out there.
And now, yeah, you're on the other side against them. So what's this month been like since I saw officially the offer was in July, little press release that they had go out.
Yeah.
What's going on in your mind? Immediately when you had that conversation at Episcopal initially, you're thinking, what formation am I going to run? Are those thoughts kind of racing through your mind as you prepare for it becoming a reality?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's just funny. Like now that I'm the head coach, and there's a lot more responsibilities. And so there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff too, that I've always been the assistant coach that doesn't really have to do these things. So now I'm the head coach. And I'm like, all right, I got to count inventory. Like what equipment do we have? What uniforms do we have? And then there's obviously the thought process about soccer. Like, of course you think about formations, but until you're actually seeing your team, it's hard to really like put those things together. But there's still definitely like, tactics that are in my brain, and I'm actually writing some of them down and thinking about stuff like that, because I mean the season is only like 8 weeks away, so it's coming up.
Right. Anybody's brain that you're picking, trying to get little nuggets and advice so far that you've reached out to?
Of course, I immediately texted Derek, Clayton, and Jake. We got a little group message from my short stint as a volunteer coach at UNF. So I told him, I was like, I'm going to be picking y'all's brain about a lot of things, not just soccer. I need help on like uniforms, all this stuff. So obviously they've been great. And really even the Bulls coaches, like I met up with the 2 Bulls coaches because they coached me. So they've been helpful too, just on giving me little tips here and there about just how the ins and outs of it. And my athletic director happened to be the head coach for the soccer team at Episcopal. So he's been my like number 1 reference. I talk to him all the time, every day. So it's been good.
Got to use your resources. And as sure as time develops, you'll develop your own style, your own schemes, your own way of doing things and logistics.
Yeah.
What's something that you really want to impart upon the players that you coach when you get the opportunity?
Well, I definitely, some of the things that I learned that like when you're younger, you don't really realize they're important, or they weren't important to you at that time. And at UNF, I remember some of the 2 core values that really stuck with me is like the accountability and the team first mentality. So those are definitely going to be my 2 core principles for Episcopal. I learned a lot, like in my 4 years at UNF. I was not always the easiest player to deal with. Derek can tell you some stories about that. My first 2 years are really were like the really big ones where I was stubborn and I had to learn. and just being team first and having to sacrifice what I think is best for myself and doing what's best, what the coaches tell me for what's best for the team and the overall goal. That's huge. And then accountability, that aspect was like, you're not in high school anymore. I had to learn how to hold myself accountable and make sure I'm doing all the right things, going to study hall, things like that. So like, if I can implement the team first and accountability into these high school age kids, I think it can be big just for them moving forward in all aspects of life. And I know that's like kind of the corny thing that all coaches probably say, but for me, I truly believe it's a true thing. You can learn a lot of lessons.
Yeah, and you'll also have the opportunity to work with some of them in other aspects, as you were saying, you're a full-time substitute and also helping out in the athletic department in general. A lot of hats that you'll be wearing at Episcopal.
Yeah.
For you, being a part of Jacksonville throughout the entirety of your life in some way, what do you think is the potential for the Jacksonville soccer community?
Jacksonville, I've said it before, and like when the Armada was in town and we had a pro team here, and I know the Armada's still here, but like when they were in a pro league, what I mean, like the city loves soccer, and there's a really great soccer community in Jacksonville. We need a pro team. Like we need a pro team that's in a league. And then you have UNF and JU, you have two colleges, Division I, and then you have a great club in JFC. Like there's such a good Jacksonville community, but I think it would be awesome if we can get the Armada back in a pro league and sustainable where we're seeing them for years and years and years, because it was like awesome for those 3 or 4 years that they were around to be able to like link pro, college, high school, youth soccer, like just the whole linkage of that was awesome. And I think it'd be awesome to get that back.
And soccer seems to be one of those sports where that's even more commonplace, to have kind of that tree up through youth soccer, because youth soccer is such a big thing.
Yeah.
And then into high school, and club soccer is still a big thing where it is not as big in some other sports. And so the potential is definitely there for it. And Jacksonville is a unique city in the sense where it is so big, but it's not overwhelming to the point where you're in like a densely metropolitan area where it is kind of easy to get disconnected. It's also very easy to get connected here. And I'm sure those connections will also help you at Episcopal for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And building that network base. Anything that you want to share, anything that you're looking forward to or want to mention or throw out there before we close out?
Oh man, anything. Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Obviously, I know this is the UNF channel, so I've been hopefully said a lot of great things about UNF. So I'm just hoping that if people watch this that are on the fence about what school they want to go to, especially young soccer players that might be trying to pursue a career, I hope that they realize that UNF not only is a good school, but the soccer program in general has produced pros, not only just professional soccer players. There's a lot of guys that I graduated with that are crushing it in the business world. And I think I can only speak for at least the UNF soccer alumni group. We have such a good group of people, and we're still all really tight knit. And it seems like everyone's doing something good right now. And so just trying to keep pumping it up, and hopefully this year the UNF soccer can get another trophy, because I think this is going to be a good year.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Jay. I've known your name ever since I've gotten starting to work here at UNF, but I was glad to finally put official face to a name. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brock. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Talon Talk. Find the complete archive along with feature articles on UNFospreys.com by going to Fans and Talon Talk podcast series under the Multimedia tab.